Welcome back to the deep dive. It's fascinating when you watch public opinion make a big shift, right, on things like climate or social issues.
Absolutely. It feels like society is collectively, redefining things.
Yeah.
Changing the story.
Exactly. And for decades, the very field focused on those dynamics, social work, has kind of been operating without its own dedicated map, its own theory.
That's been a real challenge.
Yeah.
A lot of borrowing from psychology, sociology,
Yeah.
which is useful, but it led to this fragmentation. No single unified language.
Until now, perhaps.
Well, that's the hope. We're diving into something really new and ambitious today. The Cognosystemic theory of human psychosocial relational construction. TCCR for short.
Okay.
It's a 2025 proposal by Chilean social worker Jelena Simunovic Menares, and it's basically aiming to be the unified conceptual architecture for social work. A meta-theory.
A meta-theory. Okay, that's big. So our mission today, let's unpack TCCR's core idea, this cognosystem, and understand how it explains meaning and change.
Sounds good. So the cognosystem, that's the central concept. Think of it as an ecosystemic narrative suprasystem.
Okay, break that down a bit. Ecosystemic narrative suprasystem.
Right, forget the jargon for a sec.
Yeah.
Imagine it's like the invisible operating system of a society. It's this huge interconnected network, a living mesh, Simunovic Menares calls it, of all the stories, beliefs, and meanings circulating.
A living mesh. I like that.
And it structures the psychosocial reality for that specific society. Really crucial point.
Yeah.
It's always about the collective, never about diagnosing an individual.
Got it. So collective reality. Now, ecosystemic makes me think of layers, like in Bronfenbrenner's model you see in developmental psychology. Is TCCR using that?
It draws on that, definitely. TCCR talks about cognosystemic layers. You've got the microsystem that's individual immediate narratives, then the mesosystem group, community-level stories, the exosystem, think institutions, media narratives, and the macrosystem, the big stuff, like ideologies, cultural values.
Okay, so similar layers. What's the TCCR twist then?
The twist is the focus on narrative power and how narratives move between these layers. It's not just about how the layers affect a person, but how stories themselves travel and gain or lose influence across the whole system.
Right, influence. And you mentioned, is it static? Or are there tensions? The source mentioned friction.
Exactly. It's definitely not static. It's dynamic and it's stratified, meaning some narratives just carry more weight, more power than others. They're not all equal.
Hegemonic narratives, maybe?
Precisely. And these narratives are constantly bumping up against each other. The friction happens when, say, a narrative from the lower layer, like a personal story of hardship, that's microsystem clashes with the dominant idea up in the macrosystem.
Okay. And that clash does something.
It creates tension, instability, and that forces the whole system to adjust, to reconfigure. It can actually lead to what TCCR calls hierarchical displacement.
Displacement, meaning a less powerful story can actually rise up.
Yes, exactly. It can gain traction, challenge the status quo, and climb the narrative hierarchy.
Okay, fascinating. So the cognosystem is the big picture, the societal framework. Let's zoom in. What are the actual building blocks? The Cognosystemic Narrative System, CNS.
Right. The CNS, that's the basic operational unit. It's the structure that takes raw input and shapes it into organized meaning.
How does it work? You mentioned 8 elements.
Yeah, 8 interdependent elements. Key ones are, you start with raw experience, but that immediately gets filtered through your perceptions and emotions. Then you get the core thesis, the propositional content.
The main point of the story.
Exactly. And that's backed up by cognitive evaluation, the justifications, the reasons why you believe it's true. There's also context, epistemic attitude, how certain you feel about it, narrative purpose, and narrative function, its effect.
Wow. Okay. So it's a whole engine for making meaning stick. If the CNS is the engine, what actually drives change strategically? The cognosystemic meme. The CM.
Yes, the CM. This is where TCCR gets really practical for intervention. And let's be clear, this isn't your typical internet meme that just goes viral randomly.
Different thing.
Totally different. A CM is a deliberately designed narrative unit. It's crafted specifically to carry, change, or spread certain meaning strategically across those layers we talked about, micro to macro.
So it's like a targeted intervention tool using narrative.
Exactly. It's an active agent of symbolic intervention.
And I saw there are different types based on what they do.
Correct. 3 main functions. First, consolidation memes. Their job is to strengthen the dominant hegemonic narratives. Keep things stable. Think like classic PR campaigns reinforcing a status quo value.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, friction memes. These are designed to do the opposite, to deliberately create tension, challenge the big narratives, open up space for debate.
Stir things up.
Pretty much. And third, transition memes. These are more subtle. They act like bridges, helping to gradually shift understanding from an old way of thinking to a new one. Gradual change vectors.
Consolidation, friction, transition. Okay, so bringing it all together, what's the big takeaway here? Why is TCCR potentially so significant for social work?
Well, fundamentally, it gives the field its own intellectual language, a rigorous, specific framework for diagnosis, intervention, research, all grounded in the idea that change happens through narrative re-signification. It moves beyond just borrowing tools.
It provides a unified lens focused on how we construct our social realities together.
Exactly. It offers a way to map where meaning is being made, and crucially, suggests ways to ethically and strategically step in to help reshape it. It puts that human relational construction right back at the center.
So thinking about this, TCCR talks about narrative power having these dimensions: structuring reality, legitimizing certain views, transforming understanding, and resisting dominant narratives. That leads to a final thought for you: listening. Considering how powerfully narratives shape our world, what belief you hold, maybe professionally, maybe personally, might actually be functioning as an unquestioned hegemonic narrative in your own life right now. Something to think about.